Well, Utah beats Arizona State tonight 42-10, and it begs the question, is Utah definitively the second best team in the conference? Because I think you can make a great case that they are. Welcome into the channel. It is open for business, the best Big 12 podcast on planet Earth. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and like the video. Appreciate anybody who does that. Late night game, easy for this one to get a little overshadowed by the great finish that we had between BYU and Arizona. Like, everybody was watching that game. You would have thought this would be the type of game everybody would be watching late night because it was such a great game on paper between a couple of real contenders in the Big 12. But Utah actually is the reason they pushed everybody away. They pushed everybody away from their game to their arch rival, BYU's game, which was delayed because of weather. And so no one's really paying attention to this. But, man, it was a dominant performance from Utah. Now, the game did, in fairness, lose some luster when we found out that Arizona State quarterback Sam Leavitt was not going to be able to go. That's a total bummer. Hope that he heals up quick. He was in a boot, walking around, throwing some passes kind of casually in warmups. Saw some video of that. But Arizona State had to go with Jeff Sims, journeyman, kind of backup quarterback. Fine for an experienced veteran backup, but just not a guy that is going to be one that's likely to go out and win you a game like this. So Arizona State's defense was going to need to be what did it. And that's a defense that all the way back into like July, I can remember hearing from Arizona State folks like, hey, this defense will actually be ahead of the offense. This could be what carries the team for a while. And, man, unfortunately, it didn't show up tonight. It didn't show up tonight. We'll put it that way. They got physically whipped up front by Utah. This is what we're used to seeing from the Utes. It was the opposite of that when they went up against Texas Tech, right? Forced them into being more of a passing offense, which Devin Dampier is just not. He's not going to be the guy to do that. But when he only has to throw 12 passes, which is what happened tonight, Utah is going to be in pretty good shape. You know, that's a part of the box score you could look at and just say, wow. All right, if I told you before the game Devin Dampier was only going to have to throw 12 passes, I would say, yeah, that's a great sign. That's a great sign for Utah. He's 7 of 12 for 104 yards. Dampier rushed for $120 on 10 carries. So 12 yards a carry, 3 touchdowns for Dampier. He was just picking off chunk run after chunk run. And this was not, his long was 24. So this was not like a guy who busted 1 or 2 huge runs that made up the majority of that. No, consistently throughout the night, Arizona State was getting pushed around enough that Devin Dampier was just making plays, looking free, looking comfortable. That's what he wants to do. And it was just so abundantly clear early how this game was going to go. I mean, Utah marched right down the field when you had to flip over to ESPN News to even watch the thing at the beginning of the broadcast. And it was hard to tell when it was starting because it had a bit of a weather delay. Like, Devin Dampier's like marching into the end zone by the time you can even get things figured out and get to your TV or get your TV ready to go to actually watch this game. And that's just how it went, man. I mean, look at the drive chart in this. Utah's drive chart for the game. Okay. Touchdown, punt, touchdown, 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 end of game. They had, what is that, 6? Yeah, 6 touchdown drives. Until the game ended, Utah had 6 touchdown drives and 7 drives total. That is nuts. And these are all, it's 14 plays, 8 plays, 6 plays, 5 plays, 8 plays, 4 plays. Just steadily moving the ball down the field. These didn't even have to be a whole bunch of like 15-play drives, man. Very academic, methodical ass-kicking that Utah delivered tonight to Arizona State. And that is the part that I would be really concerned about if I were a Sun Devils fan. I mean, look, one, you've got Texas Tech coming to town next week. So, I mean, yeah, that's going to be tough. You weren't physical enough to handle Utah, who was not nearly physical enough to handle Texas Tech and wore down in the fourth quarter at home against Texas Tech and left Kyle Whittingham saying that he was stunned after the game that they lost the line of scrimmage against Tech. Tech just had 9 sacks tonight against Kansas, okay? So, like, that seems like it could be a pretty big problem. for Arizona State in and of itself. But if you're just thinking about the makeup of the team, like, okay, yeah, obviously you're hoping that you get Sam Leavitt back and that's not going to be an injury that lingers too long. It's apparently something that's been around since the Baylor game, and he had just been fighting through it. Even if Sam Leavitt gets back, like you got problems defensively. You got problems defensively. The unit that was supposed to be ahead of the offense and be the strength of the team, you got real issues there, and that's going to have to get fixed. Meanwhile, I mean, for Arizona State, it was just they got the field goal early, 16-play, 54-yard drive. They had another 15-play drive that wound up being the blocked field goal. That was the last time you felt like Arizona State was actually somewhat in the game. Like, hey, if you hit this field goal, it could be 14-6. At least it's a one-possession game. But even when that happened, I was thinking, boy, Kenny, I don't know, man. I feel like that's a position where maybe you should just go for it, because it didn't feel like the Jeff Sims offense was going to be consistently getting the ball that close, and you were just going to have to hope like hell that your defense somehow found a way to turn it around and get some stops. But that's part of the point. You weren't getting stops. Like, go for the end zone, man. I didn't think field goals were going to win that game. So I didn't love that call from Kenny Dillingham. And Kenny Dillingham's had so much trouble kicking field goals over the last 2 years anyway with that team. I would not have thought that is what he wanted to do. But yeah, I mean, this was not a very entertaining game to watch. It's very easy to tell what happened here. And now you got to start asking the question, like, did we all just dip out on Utah a little bit too early here in terms of like what their potential is? The reason that we did start dipping out on Utah is because they got punished by Texas Tech. Well, Texas Tech is doing that to everybody. They have won every single game this year by at least 3 scores. I mean, they're just leaving a trail of wreckage in their wake. Utah happened to just be another victim. But outside of that, they beat UCLA 43-10. Now, I know UCLA is starting to play a lot better. It is fair to say that was the Deshaun Foster version of UCLA. I'm not sure what he was doing, but he leaves, and all of a sudden now they look like one of the better teams in the Big Ten. West Virginia, they just punished. Arizona State now destroyed at home. Like, I think it's very possible that this Utah team is legitimately, like, with a bullet, the second best team in the league. And we all just, they had the misfortune, I guess, in terms of public perception, they had the misfortune of running into Texas Tech right out of the chute in conference play. That just, rough draw from the schedule makers there that everybody kind of forgets about you. The schedule is still tough. I mean, going to BYU next week will be a very difficult game. I expect the Holy War to be a knockdown, drag-out slugfest between those two teams. But once you get past that, yeah, it'll be great. They've got to play Cincinnati. Cincinnati comes to Salt Lake City. That'll be really fun to see in a couple weeks. But they've got Colorado, they've got at Baylor, they've got K-State, they're at Kansas. I mean, it's a manageable enough schedule here for Utah. I mean, they could do this. That Cincinnati game could be awesome because Cincinnati's been just mauling, just road grading teams on the ground. That's a team with a great ground attack. That'll be a really fun one to watch in terms of the physicality matchup between those teams there. But yeah, I think it's a perfectly fair one question to ask. Is Utah definitively the second best team in the league right now? And two, we should start looking at this game next week. We got to start setting up the Holy War here as a massive game in the Big 12, like just massive. Because say what you will about BYU, I've been saying it felt like they had 9 lives. They were very lucky to survive. They're lucky that a Bear Bachmeier fumble not only gets recovered, but gets recovered forward for a first down on what was a huge third down play. So many things. Big holding call that negated an Arizona touchdown. Arizona receiver drops a ball that probably should have been caught that would have tied the game, and then they get the 2-point conversion to try and win it. So many things, right? And you can say Utah looks like absolutely the better team right now. But, I mean, BYU is still unbeaten, and it's in Provo next week. And these games tend to just be really cool. Look at last year. BYU was a significantly better team, but yet at home, Utah made that game very, very close until we get a controversial ending that helps BYU pull it out just by the skin of their teeth. So I think the game will be very close next week. It's a huge game in the context of the Big 12 standings and what's going to happen. And that's a game that Utah will really need if they're going to be in Arlington, if they're going to get their rematch and get another shot at Texas Tech, which, I perfectly understand some people that I've seen have the take like, hey, man, those are the two teams that are more physical than everybody else. I think those are the best two teams in the league. Utah still has its limitations. If you force them, if you are able to match their physicality and you force Devin Dampier to have to beat you through the air, you're going to be in great shape. And I think it's a legitimate question. Who in this league can do that besides Texas Tech that we already saw? We'll find out next week about BYU. We'll find out about Cincinnati, I guess, although the defensive side of things concerns me much more for Cincinnati there. They're pretty physical up front on offense. But I don't know if anybody else on the schedule is really a threat to do that for Utah the rest of the year. So get the hype going for the Holy War next week. It's going to be awesome. I will be in Provo for it, and I am stoked. But congrats to the Utes tonight, man. Big win. Arizona State left reeling a bit. Context of their seasons changed really quickly. Life got real for them very quickly. On Wednesday, you're thinking, hey, big game this week. Can't wait to see it. Then, boom, Sam Leavitt out. Boom. Here's a 32-point L where only one drive was not a touchdown for Utah. Boom. Now Texas Tech is in your building. Have fun. Yeah, got tough real quick for ASU. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the Open for Business Big 12 newsletter at ofbnews.com. That's ofbnews.com, or click the link in the description. And I will talk to you all tonight for the live show. Take care.